This is your pump station connected to real VNC viewer. This main display basically tells you exactly what the pump station is doing at that time that you were viewing it. So here you'll see discharge. It shows DISCH for short, but this is your pressure going out of the station. Flow will tell you if there's moving water going out of the station. If it says no flow, that means the water is not moving and it's just basically repressurizing. But as long as you have sprinklers or anything open out in the field, this will show the flowing, meaning that there's water going to something. Here is your main pump information. This tells us that the switch on the front of the pump station is in the auto position and is running 51.5 hertz at 9.7 amps at 36% torque and 2.12 kilowatts. So the maximum that this pump can run is 60 hertz. And as it gets higher to 60 hertz to feed the amount of water that's leaving the station, the amps will increase. If there is a fault on the system, this status here where it says system normal will turn to a fault, and it will tell you exactly what the fault condition is. And to check what that fault condition means, you can click on this fault menu here, which we'll go to later, and it'll tell you what that fault condition is. On this side of the screen, if there is a fault condition in red, there'll be another button on this side that says reset. This allows you to reset the active fault and get the system back to normal operating status. This is all on this main screen tab. If we move over to trend, this shows you a graph of what is moving out of the station. So how much pressure, how many hertz the pump is moving, at what amps, and if you had a flow meter, it would show you the flow in numbers. But since it's just a flow switch, it's only going to show you if it's flowing or not. Then if you click on the fault tab, this tells you the different faults that have been occurring. So as you can see on this left side, it gives you the date, the time, the description of the fault, the date that the fault was reset, and the time that it was reset. As you can see on 6/25, or I'm sorry, 6/13/2025, so day, month, year, you had numerous underload faults, which means either the intake of the pump is covered in something or there's not enough water in your pump vault. Low flow means that the pump was running for a continuous amount of time with no flow being registered on the screen. This could be drip zones. This could be a small leak in the line that's keeping the pump on, but not enough volume to register on the flow switch. And that seems to be the most common problem on this station is these underload and low flow faults. So this is stuff that you can troubleshoot on site. You can start changing parameters to try and combat or negate their effects. But ultimately, these two features show an underlying problem with things outside of the station. General rule is that a fault condition is not a problem with the pump station, but an actual issue that the station is seeing in operation and preventing any type of damage that might occur due to that situation. So again, similarly here, underload means that not enough water is going through the pump. So a water delivery problem to the pump itself. And then low flow again would be a leak or some type of drip zone that is not enough volume to produce to register flow. So the pump is being protected from overheating because you need a certain amount of water going around it. So that's why the low flow alarm comes on. You can clear the alarm history if you want to get rid of all the, the history that is recorded here, but it's not recommended to do so. Lastly, you have your menu screen. Menu is where you can start changing the way the station is configured. Now this is important to leave up to qualified technicians to do so. However, it is your pump station, it belongs to you, so you are allowed to do as you please. It's just beneficial to make sure that these changes are being made by somebody that understands what those changes mean. Most of the changes you will want to make are on the main screen, such as discharge pressure. If you click on the discharge button, you can change the set point. So if you want more pressure, you can change it to whatever you would like, 70 psi, 80 psi. However, the higher the pressure, the less volume you're able to output. So as that goes, at 60 psi, if you're outputting 100 gallons per minute, if you increase it to 70 psi, you're now only going to output maybe 60, 65 gallons per minute. Similarly, if you were to decrease the pressure, if you only needed 50 pounds of pressure to operate, instead of outputting 100 GPM, you will now put out 105, 110 GPM if you went down to 50 or 55 PSI. In flow, there's not much changes that you can make here. You can change the low alarm delay, which is here. So if you are getting nuisance low flow alarms and you really think that it's because of a drip zone, but you're putting out water, you don't want to worry about it too much, you can increase this delay so that it doesn't fault as often, or even fault at all, because it could reset before this delay timer is count down. Here you can change filter functions. So right now, filter interval mode is enabled, meaning that regardless if the filter is getting clogged, it will still run every 120 minutes. And it will run that flush for 30 seconds. This is adjustable to however you'd like. We have it here to prevent from any filter issues. So essentially, what's happening is the filter will flush every hour and a half to prevent any debris buildup. Now there is features with this filter that's mechanical that you can't see here, that it will automatically clean itself if the pressure before the filter gets 7 psi higher than the pressure after the filter. So this is just auxiliary or secondary commands to ensure that your filter stays clean. CW is your filter before your pump vault. It's essentially the large screen that sprays itself off to keep any large particles or debris from attaching to it, so that way you have clear water coming into your pump vault. This is on interval mode and will have the CW screen run for 2 minutes and then off for 30 seconds, contingent on the pump itself running. If the pump is not running, it will not do any of this because this requires pressure from the pump in order to clean itself off. Then if we go into main pump, finally, this is where you can start changing pump operation settings, like line fill mode, remote mode, sleep settings, PID settings, and underload. Where it matters to you most would be in remote mode and line fill mode. Remote mode is used if you are having leaking problems outside of the station that is keeping the station cycling off and on, or triggering low flow. You can wire in a signal from your irrigation controller, enable remote mode, and now the pump won't operate until it receives the run signal from your irrigation controller. Right now, this is not enabled, so the system is operating based off of pressure drop. When pressure drops enough, pump wakes back up to repressurize the system, and it will stay on as long as it's flowing. Once flow is stopped and pressure is maintained, the station will go to sleep. Line fill mode is used if, for whatever reason, there was an issue on site where the pump station had to be turned off and you lost all of your pressure on your main line. You would enable line fill mode, and what this does is it allows the pump to refill the line slowly as to not quickly overpressurize and cause any breaks in your main irrigation lines. So again, line fill mode is a slow step-up procedure that is utilized when your system has no pressure on it and you're starting it back up. Sleep settings is to change when your pump goes to sleep. This should only be changed by a technician. PID settings is the same idea. And underload is also your settings on how much the pump can tolerate being out of water. Again, this should only be adjusted by a qualified technician. This concludes your pump station demonstration. If you have any questions, please reach out to our service department at 208-287-9361 or send us an email to service@gopps.us.